Tonight, Mark Carney pursuing a new trade war tactic with Donald Trump.
The president said he now wants to be very good to Canada.
He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice, and we're going to have another call soon. Yeah, we had a very good call.
Donald Trump has turned trade policy into a battlefield once again. His latest move with Canada shows how tariffs remain his favorite weapon and his sharpest bargaining tool. Prime Minister Mark Carney is trying to keep pace, but his strategy of matching Washington could leave Canada exposed. Tonight, we break down Trump's new trade tactic, Carney's response, and what it means for the future of North America's economy. Trump's tariff tactic. Since returning to office, Trump has leaned on tariffs to force foreign partners into line. Steel, aluminum, autos. He sets the terms by raising costs, then offers relief if others bend. This week, after a phone call with Carney, Trump claimed he would drop some retaliatory tariffs and said he wants to be very good to Canada. On the surface, it sounds like goodwill. In practice, it is classic Trump. Give up something minor, demand something bigger in return. Carney's response: matching Washington. Carney announced that Canada will also remove certain counter-tariffs on U.S. goods under the KUSMA deal. He used one word repeatedly: matching. By framing the move this way, he wants Canadians to believe he is not surrendering, but simply keeping the balance. Yay. But the reality is more uneven. The U.S. still keeps higher tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, while Canada has already lowered some of its defenses. Trump holds more bargaining power, and Carney's defensive approach may not hold up in a prolonged fight. The bigger battle: renegotiating KUSMA. Behind these gestures lies the real contest: renegotiating the KUSMA agreement. Carney admitted talks could last up to 18 months, and that the outcome will look very different from today's deal. For Trump, this is the main prize. By offering partial relief now, he pulls Canada into a deeper negotiation where Washington will likely demand concessions in sensitive sectors, from agriculture to energy exports. Trump sets the rules, and Canada risks playing on his terms. Domestic pressure in Canada. At home, Carney faces sharp criticism. Opposition conservatives call his move a climb down, saying Canada is giving in too easily. Ontario Premier Doug Ford wants a deal that brings real relief to tariff-hit sectors. If not, he demands Ottawa hit back hard and deliver direct support to businesses. This leaves Carney squeezed from both sides, Trump pressing from abroad, critics pushing at home. His balancing act is growing harder to sustain. Short-term economic signals. Meanwhile, Canada's economy shows the strain. Retail sales rose 1.5% in June, a sign that consumers are still spending despite the trade war. Clothing, building materials, and food all posted solid gains, but forecasts point to another decline in July, likely around 1%, with the weakness concentrated in cars and metals, the very industries most exposed to tariffs. In other words, this trade conflict is no longer abstract. It is already shaping business decisions and consumer behavior. Beyond tariffs, Canada's options. Carney insists that Canada must diversify trade. He will head to Germany next week to pursue new partnerships. Long-term, this strategy could reduce reliance on the U.S. But in the short term, geography dictates reality. Canada cannot replace the American market overnight. Trump knows this, and he is exploiting that dependence. By keeping tariffs in place on strategic goods, he reminds Ottawa that Washington still holds the stronger hand. Conclusion: Trump in control. So where does this leave the standoff? Trump remains the central player, driving the agenda with tariffs and bargaining power. Carney's strategy of matching may maintain appearances, but it leaves Canada reacting rather than leading. The real test will come in the renegotiation of KUSMA, where the stakes are far higher. Trump calls it leverage. Carney calls it balance. But both cannot be true at once. For now, Canada is holding position while the U.S. pushes forward. The longer this continues, the more likely it is that Ottawa will be forced into concessions that reshape North American trade on Trump's terms. This is only the opening act of a trade conflict that could define the economic relationship between the U.S. and Canada for years to come.
Tonight, the Prime Minister lands in Europe to strengthen economic and security ties. hoping to build trade and defense cooperation with key allies. Canada has pivoted across the pond as tensions simmer with our southern neighbor. Ottawa is also expected to show its support for Ukraine.
Donald Trump is once again at the center of a global economic storm. In 2025, his favorite tool, tariffs, is back, and this time, the pressure is falling squarely on America's closest neighbor, Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney has just made a bold move in response, one that could ease pain for Canadian businesses but also reshape the balance of power. Tonight, we look at Trump's gamble, Carney's countermove, and the uncertain road ahead. Trump's tariff gamble. Tariffs have always been Trump's weapon of choice. He claims the authority to raise duties as high as 50%, and he has already wielded that threat against allies and rivals alike. For Trump, tariffs are simple. They punish countries he believes take advantage of the U.S., and they create bargaining power by making others pay to access America's market. But at home, the costs are unavoidable. Companies face higher import prices. Supply chains become unpredictable. Consumers pay more at checkout. Economists warn that this constant uncertainty makes it harder for businesses to invest and grow. Still, Trump sees tariffs as quick, visible proof that he's fighting for American workers. And in politics, perception matters just as much as economics. Carney's surprise gesture. On the other side of the border, Prime Minister Mark Carney made a surprising move. Canada is removing its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods under the USMCA. The change takes effect September 1st. For Canadian small businesses, half of which rely on imports from the United States, this is immediate relief. Owners say they can finally lower prices and stop passing costs onto customers. Consumers may soon feel a difference at the grocery store and beyond. But the decision is controversial. Business groups praise it. Labor unions condemn it, calling it a surrender that weakens Canada's bargaining power in the middle of a trade war. Carney insists the gesture was not blind faith. He says Trump personally assured him that negotiations will speed up, but crucially, no timeline has been set. Trump's leverage versus Carney's diversification. Here, the clash of strategies is sharp. Trump can point to Canada's retreat as proof that tariffs work. By keeping talks vague, he preserves leverage, always holding the threat of new duties. Carney, meanwhile, is playing a different game. Just days after lifting tariffs, he boarded a plane to Europe. His stops in Germany, Poland, and Latvia are designed to pitch Canadian energy and minerals, and to strengthen defense ties with NATO allies. This is Canada's hedge. By lowering tensions with Washington, Carney buys short-term relief at home. But by opening doors in Europe, he signals that Canada won't remain hostage to U.S. pressure. It is a short step back on one front, combined with a push forward on another. Economic fallout and uncertainty. In the near term, Canadians will welcome the relief. Import costs should drop, businesses can breathe easier, and the government has promised an ambitious October budget to stabilize the economy. But uncertainty still hangs over both countries. Trump has not committed to when talks will begin, or what he will demand. If negotiations stall, he can escalate again, perhaps targeting autos, semiconductors, or pharmaceuticals. Canada faces another challenge as well: Chinese tariffs on canola, a crop critical to prairie farmers. Combined with drought and wildfires, the pressure on agriculture is severe. This leaves Ottawa scrambling to diversify exports, not only to Europe but to markets worldwide. The pattern is clear. Tariffs may bring short-term leverage, but they create long-term instability. Businesses crave stable rules, and right now, stability is exactly what's missing. Strategic stakes. At its core, this is not just a trade dispute. It is a contest of vision. Trump's vision is blunt. Tariffs as weapons, unpredictability as strategy, and constant pressure to force concessions. Carney's vision is layered. Ease domestic pain with a goodwill gesture, but build international partnerships to reduce dependence on America. Both approaches carry risk. Trump's unpredictability could backfire if businesses pull back investment, or if allies rally together against U.S. demands. Carney's diversification takes time, and Canada's economy is still tied closely to the American market. Yet the stakes are high. If Carney succeeds in building new alliances, Canada could gain more independence. If he fails, Trump's grip will tighten. Right now, Trump holds the advantage. His tariffs remain in place, Canada has stepped back, and the White House can claim a win. But Carney is not standing still. By turning toward Europe, he is trying to write a new playbook for Canada's future, one less reliant on Washington's mood swings. The bottom line: Trump has power today, But Carney is betting on tomorrow. For businesses, consumers, and the global economy, the outcome of this clash will shape far more than just prices on store shelves. So the question is this: is Trump tightening America's grip on its northern neighbor, or is Carney quietly building an escape route that could weaken U.S. dominance in the years ahead? The answer may define not only U.S.-Canada relations, but the future of North America's economy.